Hello, everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about the demand for loanable funds. The demanders of loanable funds are going to be your borrowers, and demand is driven largely by firms that need to borrow for large capital projects. So usually when you own a business, especially a large business, you don't typically have all of the capital or cash that you need to buy buildings and new equipment and things like that. So you are going to borrow. Governments also do borrow. So these are going to be the people that are utilizing that supply of loanable funds that we talked about in a previous video. Keep in mind that borrowing must occur to build capital goods. So again, we have to have money to be able to fund all of the different goods that we're looking for. And this is going to happen before any production of final goods, meaning we haven't actually earned any money yet. We have to build capital to aid in production. So let's talk about that demand for loanable funds in a little bit more detail. Just like with our supply curve and our demand curve, movement along the demand curve for loanable funds is caused by a change in interest rate. This is similar to changes in price when we're looking at the regular demand curve. When we talk about a shift in the demand of loanable funds, this is when that demand curve for the demand of loanable funds is jumping either to the right or the left, and this is when something other than the interest rate changes. This can be things like changes in the productivity of capital, changes in how confident our investors are feeling, as well as government borrowing. So what is productivity of capital? If capital becomes more productive, the demand for loans will increase. The returns on investment at any interest rate are going to be greater. And a good example of this is internet and computers. If you have a connection to the internet, you have quick access to data and networking capabilities that people only dreamed about 20 years ago. It's really hard to kind of imagine this now, but maps, travel arrangements, job searches, and data research were things that had to be completed without the aid of the internet. Now, this would be very difficult to do without access to the internet like we have today. And because of that, the internet made computers far more productive. So as the internet was widely available, the borrowing and production for computers made a lot more sense because there were a lot more people that were interested in buying those. If something like the invention of the internet happens, then the productivity of the capital, aka computers, will go up quite a bit as well. When we talk about investor confidence, this is just a measure of what firms expect for future economic activity. Typically, the better that we feel, the more that we're willing to borrow. If we're optimistic that conditions will be great, we'll go ahead and borrow more today. But investment demand isn't necessarily rational. It's not based on rational decisions or real factors in the economy. There's an economist named John Maynard Keynes, and he referred to an investor's drive to action as animal spirits. This implies that investment demand is not even based on real factors, that changes in what a firm was expecting about the state of the economy would actually alter how they would choose to invest. This is to demonstrate what shifts in the demand for loanable funds look like. So we have D1, that's our original demand curve. And then the second click here shows D2, an increase in the demand of loanable funds. And this is when our curve jumps over to the right. It could be caused by an increase in capital productivity or an increase in investor confidence. So there's a higher demand. Again, if anything other than interest rate changes, and we may have this jump or shift to the left, this could be caused by a decrease in capital productivity or a decrease in investor confidence. So this is when we have a decrease in that demand for loanable funds. Just like with the previous video, this slide provides a great summary for you as you prepare for your exam, and it shows the demand for loanable funds summary. We have the various factors, what direction that effect goes, and why it happens. And you can see that for all of the different things that we've talked about, except for government borrowing, which is something that we'll talk about later in chapter 15. That's going to be where we go ahead and wrap up this video for chapter 9. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I'll talk with you in the next one. Thank you.